Said I did not go live. Said I did not go live. Okay, well, we're going to do this again. Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFP podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Martin. I'm a little scratchy, but honestly, I want to tell you, Familia, welcome to you're following us on YouTube. Please make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and also make sure you're going to fantasypoints.com. You're putting in our promo code Familia22. Let me put it up on the screen right now. Familia22, Familia 22 if you're doing it in Spanish. Make sure we'll get you 10% off because you get everything. You get Greg Cosell's 200 plus rookie profiles. You get some of the best fantasy minds. Just this morning, there was a great town hall with Greg Cosell, with John Hansen, with Adam Campbell. I mean, just and all of our heavy hitters. I mean, and you get Tom Brawley, you get Scott Barrett, you get Joe Dolan, you get Wes Huber. I mean, all the friends and our amigo here, because he is El Señor yards created. He has just been all over the place. We've struck up a good friendship over the past year, and it's been just a great friend and someone a great confidant. Also helped kind of open the door for us to kind of jump into the Fantasy Points Familia, and it's been great already so far. And he's been and like I said, he's Señor yards created, so we're going to get into that a little bit. I know you like the little enye on that one, mi amigo, but but yeah, so it's I mean, he's been all over the place. Roto World, he's been NFL Network, I mean, and now he's a partner of Fantasy Points. Muchas bienvenidos to mi amigo Graham Barfield. Welcome back to the show, mi amigo.
Yeah, hey man, it's good to talk to you again. And you're crushing it in your own right. You need to give yourself some more credit. You earned everything that you had to get into the media group. But we got to give a shout out to Edwin Porras, man. He's the one who kind of linked all this up. Him and Ben, kind of linked us all together. So a big shout out to the GOAT Edwin. Yeah, man, it's exciting to talk to you again. Exciting to talk some football, and I don't know if we have enough to talk about. It's not like the draft just happened, free agency. We don't have enough to talk about.
And it is kind of funny that way. There's so much build up to the draft, and I mean, I know you put in. I think what was it, Scott Barrett, on a recent tweet he put out there that you put in 230 hours into. I think that might have. I think it's.
It's probably.
Yeah. But it's so much going into, 1,000, I mean, you said 1,000 carries, but I know it's way more than that you get to do to put in yards created. I just, this year's process, how's the recovery been, from that, and kind of the aftermath and we'll get into a little bit with the recent draft with some of the landing spots.
Yeah, I want to get started on yards created earlier every year, but for whatever reason, I just keep having to push it back. The schedule this past year got pushed back a week, and the Super Bowl's later. So I really wish I could turn around and do this in January and February. But yeah, I actually just added 4 more running backs to the database yesterday. I'm going to finish up my big breakdown piece for rookie drafts and best ball. Probably put that up on Friday or maybe Monday. We'll hold off on it. But yeah, if you're listening, definitely use the code Familia22. Get yourself 10% off. And all of the yards created stuff that you'll hear in this podcast today is a part of our $50 package on fantasypoints.com. So, why not save $6-7 with that promo code? Definitely worth it. But just off the top, Jorge, this running back class is definitely the most unique group I've studied. We've got the top 2 between Hall and Walker. Mm-hmm. And then, dude, there's 15 running backs that it's just a really, really long second, third, and fourth tier. So excited to talk to you a little bit about it today for sure.
No, it's awesome. I mean, and you've really killed it on this because it's, you talked so much about the top 2. But, then the landing spots came in, and, I don't know if, I mean, we could get into that one. But first off, I wanted it, that you talked about, you said it was a unique class. Could it be somewhat uninspiring in some parts.
Yeah.
Because I know this. I know last year you didn't like the class. That you didn't like the class. Is it kind of like something that's kind of, is it where kids are gravitating to? Are kids, young kids who are, are they maybe going to the defensive side of the ball if they're bigger guys, or maybe the longer and leaner, they may be going to the wide receiver side, which seems to
Yeah.
be just a monster influx every year?
That could certainly be a part of it. I mean, moms out there are sharp enough to know to not let your kid grow up to be a running back. I mean, why would you look? I mean, you're going to get pounded by 350-pound linemen, and you're never going to get paid. So why would you want to be a running back? So I get it. No, actually, I wrote about this in my breakdown that'll come out. I just talked about. I think it's more so just these last two classes haven't been that strong. I mean, we saw in 2017, which in my opinion is the best running back class we've ever seen. I mean, it was just totally loaded from all the top end talent between Mixon and those guys, and you have Kamara and Aaron Jones. I mean, it's just a loaded class. These last two classes just haven't been all that great. This is the third time since 2000 we've seen just three running backs go in the top 75 overall picks. It's obviously happened in back-to-back years, just like you mentioned with the previous class kind of being lackluster. I don't think the last class wasn't bad, just lackluster. And this past year, I mean, we had 18 day 3 selections at running back, a ton of 4th and 5th round picks. I mean, you sort through RB9 through RB20, and I can't remember a year where, the 10th running back and the 20th running back is really, really close. I mean, there's usually like a humongous gulf between who you have at 10 and who you have at 20, and this year it feels tighter than ever. So, I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months that this class is definitely underwhelming, and it still is, but I think the draft kind of opened up another avenue of just like some more of these tier 3 and tier 4 backs, that went a little earlier than I expected. And it's kind of made the class a little more fun on the back end of things. But like I said, the top is still clear between Hall and Walker.
And and is it kind of becoming a little bit of an NFL, credo or ethos to have more committees? Because it really feels like, Breece Hall, everybody's favorite running back this year. One of the two big running backs, he's going into kind of a committee, and then just so many, and even the past couple years, you had J.K. Dobbins go into a committee. You had DeAndre Swift, even Jonathan Taylor started in a bit of a committee.
Right.
I mean, is it kind of one of those things where just teams are trying to conserve that position and not trying to spend too much financial capital on it?
Well, I think you're definitely striking onto something, because in general, it kind of makes sense. Like, if you give a running back 20 carries per game for 17 games, they might make it through that season without missing a game, but they're definitely going to be playing through injuries. And anytime you play through an injury, I mean, it just really depends on the severity, but it's definitely going to, decrease your efficiency. Especially now with these really competitive teams in the AFC, I definitely believe there's something to, like, especially early in the year, just kind of like, it's like in baseball, Jorge, like you get your stud pitcher out there in April, and he's like Clayton Kershaw, who he's playing against the Twins, whatever, 2 or 3 weeks ago. They could have let him go the whole game, but it's April. The game's basically meaningless, and he's dealing. But you gotta take care of your guy. I think it's kind of the same idea with running backs. It's like, okay, we could give Jonathan Taylor 25 carries in week 1 and do that for the rest of the season. But at the same time, like, we have to make sure we're taking care of our guy and keeping our guy healthy, so in the long run we can make a push. There's just very few teams that use bell cows anymore. It's like the Steelers do it. They're going to do it with Najee Harris. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, that's like the only one. Maybe Christian McCaffrey. But even then, I think McCaffrey, I hope, fingers crossed, that the Panthers actually start using him a little more wisely and keep him off the field to keep him healthy. He doesn't need to be out there 90% of the snaps, like 65, 70%. I think is the new bell cow, and hopefully they do that with McCaffrey this year. But yeah, there's just really not a ton of bell cows left, and that definitely hurts us for fantasy. But It also makes a lot of these running backs we're going to talk about today a little more viable too, because they might have bigger roles than maybe in previous years.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that. And you know what? It's interesting you use the pitcher running back analogy because Pat Fitzmaurice, I had him on about 6 months ago, and he used the same thing, using fantasy baseball versus fantasy football. But yeah, you're right. You want to keep those horses, in the stable. You want to keep them healthy and not too banged up, because this is such a position of attrition, as I've said many times before. One thing I just want to give a quick shout out. This is J-Wall, meet Graham. J-Wall is who created the thumbnail for our YouTube.
Cool.
So
yeah, it was really cool. Yeah,
big shout out. Big shout out there. But so J-Wall, muchas gracias otra vez. But yeah, and it is interesting. And I remember seeing recently during the recent offseason, where Le'Veon Bell even said that if he had to do it over again, he would have switched to wide receiver because of the career longevity, which God, I mean, considering what he gave up a full year to try and help running backs, that's pretty amazing.
Well, I think you're seeing it with Debo too, man. Like, I think Debo does not want to play running back, which who can blame him? And that's kind of why he's like, hey, I'm kind of fed up with the 49ers. I'm pissed off that Shanahan was using me in this role I didn't want to be in. And, it's just one of those things. Like, he's amazing in that role. But for the longevity of his career, I mean, he's 26. He's dealt with a ton of injuries in his career, but, even before this past year. I get it. I totally get it. And, I think that's just kind of the way the position is trending. And, it's kind of it's going to become like a platoon type of position. It's just going to be, 65 to 70% of the snaps, I think, is going to be like the new bell cow role.
I think you're right. I think, we're just going to be I think 300 carries is going to become kind of like 200 innings with the pitcher. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. Rarely happens anymore. Jonathan Taylor will get there this year if he stays healthy, but him and Derrick Henry, they'll get there. And then I don't know who else could get there anymore. Zeke could in his past, but not anymore.
Yeah, not with Pollard eating up some of his carries. And you mentioned the Debo thing, and I mean, it's so funny. Like, whenever you see a guy who's kind of a unicorn and does things, people talk about him as, let's find the next this. Magic Johnson's a 6'9" point guard. Let's find the next Magic Johnson. We're still looking 40 years later. But I mean, where do you stay? I'm kind of the opinion that, he's unique. Let's not try and force it.
Yeah, look, I think we're all guilty of this, just to varying degrees. I'm old enough to remember that we were all looking for the next Michael Thomas. Then we were looking for the next Tyreek Hill. Now we're looking for the next Debo Samuel. It's like, maybe those players are just really good at what they do. And you can find, I think our brains just like try to find these natural connections to those players, which I get. I absolutely get. But yeah, I mean, we've just very rarely seen a receiver play a hybrid role like that, simply because their bodies can't handle it. So yeah, I don't think we'll see the next Debo Samuel. And if we do, it's definitely not going to be the same level of player.
I tell you, yes, I think you're right. We may see some guys here and there who get the jet sweeps here and there, but to actually take running back carries like Debo did last year, and remember, I think it was in the Green Bay game where they were playing in Arctic temperatures. He hopped off the field toward the end and didn't finish the game, and barely played it. He played great against the Rams the next week. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a crazy position. Well, we're gonna get and actually, it's funny. There's probably like 6 guys that we heard were possibility times where it's like, he could be the next Debo, and I was just like, oh, adios mío, please no. Please, let's not try and force it.
It's just, like I said, we're all guilty of it to a certain extent because we want to find those comparisons, but it is kind of lazy. The latest hot role for a receiver, you got to find the next one of those. Let's let Debo Samuel be great, and then hopefully you could find someone that has a similar skill set to him and maybe put him in a similar role.
Well, there were about 6 guys I was interested in talking about today, and if they're kind of lead from this year's class, not necessarily, obviously these guys are straight running backs, but some of them have the pass catching chops. Number one, I think this is the consensus player. Not he. I don't think he was number one on your list, but the consensus after the landing spot was Breece Hall. Like people like the opportunity going, not having to compete so much with Michael Carter. Maybe he's a good chance, a good possibility. Not maybe he's not going to jump into Najee Harris's role it did with the Steelers, but how do you like his outlook in that offense?
Yeah, the big question I think everyone's going to try and figure out is just how much Michael Carter is going to play. But I'm of the opinion that you don't draft a running back that early in the second round with that roster without playing him a ton to start. Carter will play, I think, in a change of pace role. I think he's going to play a little bit of passing downs, but Breece is just, talent-wise, it's like not even comparable. I did not have Breece at 1 pre-draft. I do have him at RB1 now. I would take him 101 in all of the dynasty drafts. I've been a little surprised, Jorge. Like, I've done a ton of best ball drafts early just because I'm a degenerate and I have nothing to do with my life. But I've been a little surprised that Breece is not going earlier in best ball. He's going like he'll sneak into the early 5th round in some of these drafts, which is surprising to me because, one, his level of talent. We think he can be a workhorse. We know he can catch passes. We know he can hit home runs. And this is an offense that's ascending. Really, at the end of the day, it comes down to how well Zach Wilson progresses, and I have no answer for that. We're going to find out. But in terms of role, in terms of player, in terms of draft capital, Breece checks all the boxes. My one concern with him, and this is truly a nitpick, is that at times for a player of his talent, I think he struggled in terms of processing just a little bit. He kind of got away with it at Iowa State, but there was a few too many plays where he just kind of like either missed the hole, ran into the back of his offensive lineman, then tried to bounce it outside. He could get away with that because he's a great athlete. He ran 4.37 at 217 pounds. But yeah, Breece is locked and loaded for me is the 101 in rookie drafts, and I'm definitely going to be a little more overweight than I expected in season-long leagues with Breece this year.
Because he really has top 10 running back potential. They upgraded their offensive line, and this is still a Shanahan offense that values the running, that really, really values the running back. Maybe it's, they're going to use multiple running backs here and there, but I in the 4th round, I kind of feel like getting him at a huge discount at that point, 4th, 5th round. I honestly feel like it'll be like 3rd by August.
I know. See, that's where I have him ranked. I have him ranked right there at the end of the 3rd round in my rankings. I think I'm at 37 or 38, and I would draft him. His ADP right now is at 50, 51. So I've definitely been a little bit surprised at it's just it's probably a little Jets bias in there too, which I get. It's deserved. Sorry, Jets fans, it's deserved. But at the same time, Breece is an awesome player, and like I said, draft capital, probable. Workhorse upside. I won't say it's probable that he's a workhorse, but definitely has workhorse upside.
Yeah, he checks all the boxes. And if Zach Wilson, he didn't. It seemed like Michael Carter caught more passes from the other quarterbacks, but yeah. I don't know. We did a year 2 quarterbacks a few weeks ago. He's the guy that really has the eyes on him, and especially now after that draft, because so many people think.
Yeah, we're gonna find out real quick, my friend. We're gonna find out real quick if Zach Wilson's good or not. We'll find out. And, I think thinking back to the first 6 or 7 weeks of last year with Zach, that offense changed completely when they brought in Mike White and Josh Johnson. They started checking the ball down more, just making just easy throws. And sure, they weren't explosive plays by any means, but I would love to see the Jets. And I think this is their plan based on who they draft between Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, is like, let's just get the ball in the hands of our playmakers. Let's make some layup throws for Wilson and just try to, move things forward from there, because the offense in those first couple of games last year, I don't think it was a complete product yet, and Zach Wilson's really struggled with accuracy. So hopefully we'll see a totally different approach to the pass game this year with their new guys that they just added.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be a more varied offense, but yeah, you're right. It's coming down to him, because they even added offensive linemen for him, and it's going to be it's got to be good. He's got to be good. Well, let's talk about the guy that you had number one. Going into the draft, Kenneth Walker. The Seattle, was it the Seattle landing spot, or that the Jets, that you just thought the Jets was a little more alluring for Brees?
Yeah. Well, let me start with the positives with Walker.
Mhm.
He smashed yards created. He's in the 92nd percentile in terms of yards created per attempt. He's up there with elite players: Joe Mixon, Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley. Some truly, truly elite prospects. Led this class in missed tackles forced per attempt. He's just kind of a magician, just in terms of the way he can work his feet, get upfield. He's truly a master. Like I watch Kenneth Walker all day long. I've been saying it for months. Like, you could put him in any offense and give him 17, 18 carries, and he's going to do well. My concern with Seattle specifically is that they might stink, and they might stink for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's an exercise in hubris at best to say that they're going to go into this year with Drew Lock. I know there's mutual disinterest with Baker Mayfield, and maybe they sniff around to Jimmy Garoppolo once his shoulder checks out. But man, like, I don't know. I don't know how you can go in this year with Drew Lock. The other concern is obviously Rashad Penny played really, really well at the end last year.
Yeah.
He was on fire. This was the Rashad Penny we thought we were getting when they drafted him in the first round, but obviously injuries have just kind of derailed his career. They gave him a 1-year deal. It's heavily, I looked into his contract, it's really heavily incentive laden, so he's got to produce to get the money. I think Kenneth Walker will be the 1A to start, and then I think he ends up running away with it. But again, we circle back to Seattle might stink. They don't really throw to the running backs. And Kenneth Walker only caught 13 balls at Michigan State this final year. I love the player, love him as a runner. But yeah, there's enough red flags for me to, adjust to new information and bump him down just a little bit in my ranks. He's still at RB2. I would take a couple of receivers ahead of him in rookie drafts, especially Drake London, and then entertain Garrett Wilson and Treylon Burks. But yeah, I'm still in on Kenneth Walker talent-wise, but I also, there's definitely some downside risk between Seattle and their whole mess right now.
There was some. I had been thinking about this earlier with the whole Rashad Penny Walker situation, and I was listening to the show that Scott Barrett did with Danny Kelly, and they threw out the Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon comp, kind of like that combo. How that, if Penny stays healthy the whole season, if both of them stay healthy, both guys ended up around 900 yards, serviceable, but not necessarily league winners for you. I mean, is that kind of like your scary? What you're scared?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the right comp. Is this Seahawks coaching staff, for what it's worth, is stuck with Penny through thick and thin. I mean, every time he's been healthy, they've tried to play him. Like, credit to them for trying to give their guys some work. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. A 1A, 1B type of situation on a pretty bad team is not exactly exciting for fantasy. And, we've seen that. I was talking about best ball drafts with Brees. Like, Kenneth Walker's ADP is in that 70, 80, 90 range. And I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty fair price for him.
For best ball, especially if he takes over the job later in the season, that's a bargain. So
yeah, I mean, the flip side of this, and I know Edwin won't want to hear this, but Rashad Penny might be the breaking of the injury prone is alive thing. Like, this poor guy, man. I don't want to hate on him, but yeah, he's struggled to stay healthy, and that's obviously a risk.
Well, I mean, we'll let a veladora for him. But Matthew Armstrong, your question is going to be, I'm gonna drop this one after a couple more players, because that's a really good question that I want Graham. So we'll put that one up. But I want to ask about James Cook. Devin Singletary had a really good closing. Got the bulk of the carries there at the end of the season and through the playoffs. Different type of runners. Cook is also great. I mean, I think Greg Cosell had him as his best pass catcher out of the running backs.
Yeah.
Can you diagnose this one?
Yeah, I agree with Cosell. He was the best receiving running back in this class for me as well. They did a lot of really cool stuff with him in Georgia. They would split him out wide at receiver. I charted him running a receiver route or a slot route like 20 to 22% of the time.
Oh,
And he was
wow.
getting open. Yeah, I mean, he got open and gained separation against, SEC corners. The problem with Cook is, he's extremely explosive, but he's really, really small. Like,
Mhm.
he's 195, but he's really, really light in his legs and his butt. So I have concerns that he's not going to be able to really hold a big workload together. I think it's definitely a complementary situation with him and Devin Singletary, who was great, to end last year. That being said, this Bills team, man, they've been looking for a really good pass catching back
Mhm.
all offseason. They basically signed J.D. McKissick. Then a day later, he went back to Washington. They visited with James Cook in March. I remember seeing a tweet late night, and I was like, "Damn, James Cook with the Bills would be sweet." And lo and behold, it happened. I think it's a perfect player, perfect role fit for him. But for fantasy, yeah, I don't see him as a guy that's going to be able to hold up anything more than like 6 to 8 carries per game. But in that offense, a couple layup touchdown opportunities, there's definitely some flex appeal. But if anything were to happen to Devin Singletary, I still think Zach Moss would step back in and get some of those short yardage, early down, goal line carries. I don't think James Cook's role wouldn't change too much. But love the player, love the fit. Just concerned about how many touches he can really get in the NFL.
Yeah, I still have ingrained in my memory that 67-yard run he had against Alabama in the national championship
Wow.
game. But
I bet you Nick Saban has that run ingrained in his head too, man.
he's probably been losing some sleep over that one many, many, many times. Another receiving back, Rashad White, is somewhat landing in Tampa. For Leonard Fournette had such a bell cow role, a lead caballo role, as we often say on the show. I mean, is there going to be enough for? Could there be enough for Rashad White, especially since Gio Bernard is still lurking around?
Yeah. Um, I've gone back and forth on this one. I think Rashad White is probably one of the best handcuffs in fantasy this year. I don't think he's going to eat too much into Leonard Fournette's role. They love Leonard Fournette,
Yeah.
and they should. I mean, he has gone in there and done everything they've asked of him. Between being an inside grinder, their red zone back, check down option for Brady, he has been really, really freaking good. He stayed healthy. He's clearly taking care of his body now, which I don't know if he was doing in Jacksonville. All of that being said, they just gave Fournette a really nice contract, multiple year deal. They didn't have to do it. Fournette's their bell cow. Whether or not he gets like 80% of the carries and snaps like he did last year, definitely question that. Rashad White probably comes in and eats into that a bit. But that being said, Rashad White is not close to ready to being able to handle a ton of inside carries. He struggled mightily with his vision. He would miss wide open holes. If he didn't have a wide open hole, in my opinion, he really struggled to create on his own. All of that being said, he was a really good receiver too. He's just like James Cook. They used him at wide out, split him out in the slot, gave him some screen looks. He's got really good hands. He's good in the open field too. He's got a nice little jump cut that he uses quite a bit. I like the pick a lot for the Bucs, and it makes a ton of sense. They needed a pass catcher to kind of back up Fournette in case anything happens. I don't really think Gio is that much of a factor anymore. But in my opinion, I don't think he's going to eat too much into Fournette's role.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. I mean, but he is. I mean, definitely a pass catcher. I mean, is it asking so much to say, oh, he's going to come into the James White role from New England days right off the bat? It's hard to expect a rookie to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. If you want to get that James White role, you've got to be really good in pass pro, and very, very few running backs coming out of college are good in pass protection, and Rashad White is not one of them. So, yeah, one thing that keeps Fournette on the field is he's good in pass protection. Like he has gotten good in pass protection. He was horrible at it at LSU, and he was horrible at it in Jacksonville. I think that's been one thing that's kind of earned him Brady's trust a little bit more too, is that you can trust him now in pass protection. Rashad White definitely has a ways to go to earn that trust.
It is funny how players, when they get into a winning situation, they do the little things.
Well, okay, hold on. I'm a Jaguars fan. We were a winning team when Leonard Fournette was there.
That's right. That's right.
We beat the Steelers, almost should have beaten the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl. And then everything fell apart. The defense fell apart. Management fell apart. So we had 1 year. We've had 1 year in basically my entire lifetime where we've been a winning team, and Leonard Fournette was a part of it. So maybe you know what it was? He brought the winning culture to Tampa. It wasn't the other way around. That Brady guy, no. It was Fournette bringing the winning culture to Tampa Bay.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. All right. Leonard Fournette, culture changer.
Yeah, he's a game changer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I'll give you that one. Maybe. You know what? We had a question in the chat. I'd love to see what you think about it. Does James Cook remind you of Andre Ellington?
That's a good one. Ellington was a little bit thicker in his lower half. Kind of similar build though, like shorter satellite back types. A little. I think James Cook is a much better athlete. James Cook's a phenomenal athlete. He was running past SEC guys, so better athlete. I think role-wise, yeah, you probably were never. I remember back in the day where Andre Ellington and David Johnson were duking out for touches back in like 2015. But yeah, Andre Ellington was never a guy you want to give 8 to 12 carries. So I can see it. Yeah.
Oh, and for your Jacksonville roots, yes, need Mark Burnell back. So.
Oh God, I know he's coaching high school ball now in Jacksonville. So maybe we'll pull him off the sidelines, let him coach off Trevor Lawrence here.
Yeah, that would be good. We need more quarterbacks in the NFL. So I want Trevor Lawrence to be good. I want nice things. So I want nice things for Duval. So I gotta love that. So I got the last two running backs that I wanted to ask about are guys that I'm scooping up all over the place in early rookie drafts. First one, Damien Pierce, 4th rounder out of Houston. Someone gave me the comp of Marion Barber, and with the hair flying out at the Senior Bowl, it just really really stuck with me. The landing spot, he's got to beat out 230 or 2 running backs on the other side of 30. So how do you like that possibility?
Yeah, early day 3 pick for Damien Pierce, especially to the Texans. I might have fist pumped in my living room by myself. Maybe. With that pick. Damien Pierce was my guy, man. I had him at RB4 pre-draft. I've moved him up to RB3, which probably just speaks to this class. Start with the positives. I mean, he was awesome in very limited touches, but he was awesome. 3rd in this class in yards created per attempt. 2nd in missed tackles forced. He was really good as a receiver too, in terms of his efficiency. The problem was that Florida staff just didn't use him. I still don't have an answer for it, but it was one of the most bizarre personnel decisions I've seen in college for a while. He would come in, rip off a couple of big plays, and then they would promptly put him back on the bench. I don't know if it was just not recognizing the talent, kind of like what they did with Kadarius Toney until the end. They didn't recognize his talent until the end. I'm not really sure what the deal was, but when he got on the field, he made sure his touches were effective. He was a prolific touchdown scorer too. Again, small sample. And now, yeah, like you mentioned, he goes to the Texans between Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead. Mack's still coming back from a popped Achilles. Rex Burkhead's always just kind of been a rotational player, so the opportunity's there. But Texans went with a pretty gross rotation last year with about the same talent level, and that could just be like we kicked off the show talking about. That could just be an organizational decision to say, hey, Damien Pierce is our best player, but we still want to have a rotation. I've been buying Damien Pierce too. I think the discount on him will only last so long in best ball. So if you want to get him now. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about Damien Pierce with Houston.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to in June and July, doing my rundown with the beat writers and insiders, and Steph Stradley from Houston Chronicle gave me a lot of insight. So I'd love to see what her thoughts are going to be on this one. This is going to be one I'm very close going to be watching very closely. Another one I'm going to watch very closely, Tyler Algiere. Coming out of BYU, former linebacker. I'm sure you've never heard that before, but another day 3 pick, but landing in Hotlanta. Did the landing spot kind of bump him up a little bit in your rankings, rookie
Uh,
rankings?
I'd have to look. I had him at RB7 pre-draft, and I think I've got him. I just pulled it up. I just left it. I'll tell you. I still have an RB7. You could watch one game of Tyler Algiere and know exactly what you're getting. He is a north-south bruiser who loves contact, and it's clear he was a former linebacker because the dude loves contact. I don't think he has a ton of burst. He definitely doesn't have home run speed, but what he will provide for this offense is kind of like a Gus Edwards element that Gus Edwards has provided for the Ravens. My imagination for this offense is they run a ton of RPOs, ton of zone read, and they need a back who can just get upfield. Like Mariota fakes it, or he gives it to him. Algiere gets upfield, runs north-south. That's kind of what I think this offense is going to be looking for in terms of the way they design the run game. The problem for us in fantasy is like Algiere's receiving production is like his upside as a receiver is probably non-existent, and this Falcons team is going to struggle to put up points. And if you're an inside runner only, you got to score touchdowns, and I think Algiere will probably struggle to put up big touchdown numbers because Cordarrelle Patterson was pretty good in a goal line role last year for Atlanta. He's going to get his touches too. I like the fit a lot for Algiere. I just don't know if I see a ton of upside like with Damien Pierce. I don't see the upside for Algiere just to completely take over this backfield.
And I think the other one that you talked about, having problems with them scoring points, that's probably going to result in the fact that they're going to have to go away from the running game. And if he's not a big factor in the passing game, it's more Cordarrelle Stewart Cordarrelle Stewart. I'm sorry, Cordarrelle Patterson.
You look like Cordarrelle Stewart, man. He was like 2001.
Oh, number 10. Oh my goodness, Dios mío. I thought he was gonna become what Lamar Jackson became, but just one great season, and then the NFL kind of figured him out. So unfortunately, I remember drafting him the year after the year that the NFL figured him out. So,
oh man.
So Graham, this question from Matthew Armstrong that kind of talking about how he saw on Twitter that you added Haskins, Ingram, Tyrion Davis Price, and Ty Batty to the database. I think that'll take over for the question I had planned for here. Did those guys, what stood out about those guys?
Yeah, I'll start with Keonta Ingram because I think he's probably the most interesting out of that group. Really fun back. He transferred from Texas because of Bijan Robinson, who I'm sure we'll talk about next year this time. Bijan Robinson, Jorge, is the man. That dude's unbelievable. Keonta Ingram transferred to USC. Was never a bell cow, but he was really good in his kind of like limited role. He's a slasher. You never see old school slashers anymore coming out of college, but he's just got like these like quick little jump steps he does behind the line of scrimmage, and he's got enough burst to make it work. Fun receiver too. At the end of the day, 6-round running backs, the hit rate is like 10%, 12% on the high end. But I did come away impressed with Ingram in his study. Tyrion Davis Price, just quickly on him, going back and rewatching him, it's always interesting to see what running back Shanahan takes. He's had some huge hits. Elijah Mitchell was a huge hit. He's had some big swings and misses between Trey Sermon and Joe Williams. Tyrion Davis Price is an interesting one. He doesn't really fit the Shanahan mold in terms of just like being a smaller, compact zone runner. He is 6'2", runs upright, but he's got really, really good footwork, like extremely good footwork. He's not a twitchy or sudden athlete by any stretch, but he gets it done with great footwork. And I think in this 49ers run game, Shanahan's just looking for efficient backs who can make their one cut in this zone scheme and get upfield and just hammer. And I think Davis Price can be that guy. We talked about Debo. I think the Davis Price pick kind of leans in on like, okay, Shanahan's not going to use Debo in this like 8 to 12 carry role anymore. we need to get a bigger back in there on third down situations, third and short, goal line situations. Elijah Mitchell also kind of fell apart, unfortunately, at the end of last year too, because of all of his carries. So I think the pick makes sense, going back and rewatching Davis Price. But for fantasy, man, I mean, all hell would have to break loose for him to have a ton of upside. That's the only thing. I mean, Mitchell would have to get hurt. Debo would probably have to get hurt. And he's just not a pass catcher. He caught like 9 balls his entire career in college. And I want to talk. He asked about Tyler Beatty too.
Yeah,
Beatty's really, really interesting. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it for the Ravens, because if you're drafting Tyler Beatty, you're kind of drafting him to be like a lowercase James Cook as a pass catcher. Baltimore never throws to their running backs. Maybe there's going to be like an organizational flip and they try to get Lamar in some like just check down and design plays. But Beatty's a really good pass catcher. Same thing as James Cook, though. He's really small. He's 5'9", 195, and he looks it too. I know he had 260 carries last year and against SEC competition. He held up. Credit to him. Still, he's very small. And he's built a little more compactly than James Cook. But Beatty was a really interesting pick by the Ravens. I think it was more of just like a depth pick. But yeah, I like Keonta Ingram the most out of the guys that I added. I actually just drafted him in the 4th round of a rookie draft. He's one of my main targets for remaining rookie dynasty drafts. And I'll sniff around on Tyrion Davis Price too.
And what about Hassan Haskins?
Yeah, Haskins it's kind of the same situation as Tyler Algiere. You put on one game, you know exactly what you're getting. Haskins is an inside runner only. He's not got a ton of burst, but he's powerful. And I think that pick made a ton of sense for the Titans. A day 3 big hammer back in case Derrick Henry goes down. We can rely on him for a couple games. I think that pick makes a ton of sense. But again, it comes back to the Davis Price thing. These bigger backs that don't catch the ball don't have a ton of upside unless they're Derrick Henry. And Hassan Haskins is not Derrick Henry.
Yeah. There's a reason why he's likely to be his backup this year. So just sitting back behind him. Last year, we talked a little bit about last year's rookie class, and I think there are three situations that we're talking about. Najee Harris was your number 1 guy last year, and obviously, and he produced like it. I think he was in PPR scoring. He was the running back 3 on the season, over 1,200 yards, over 70 receptions, just really delivered. Are you any concern with the change to Trubisky as a quarterback, and then and also just not the lack of not heavy investment in the offensive line in the draft?
Well, for better or worse, the Steelers are much higher on their offensive line than I think the collective public is. Look, I mean, the Steelers line has been really bad for a couple of years, bottom of the league in terms of run blocking. If you want to look at yards before contact or some more advanced metrics, they've been really bad. And like you said, they've not really done too much to add to it. That will continue to be a concern for Najee, but at the end of the day, man, we want him catching balls. And, Najee coming out of college was the number 1 receiver in my database in terms of missed tackles forced per reception. And guess what? He led all running backs last year in missed tackles forced per reception. The dude he's a wizard with the ball in his hands in open space, especially being a bigger back. You don't expect him to have the burst and the quick feet that he has, but he does. He's 235, but he runs like he's 215. He's got moves like he's 215. I love Najee Harris this year. I think I'm going to be higher on Najee than I think pretty much everybody else. He's my RB3 right now. I have him over Derrick Henry, got him over Austin Eckler. I'm all in on Najee. This Steelers team, man, they're quietly building like I mean, they have some weapons, man. I mean, beyond Deontay and Claypool, Pickens has all the talent in the world. Calvin Austin's a fun little player. Freiermuth's fantastic. He's going to be a fantastic tight end. He's going to start 10 to 12 years in the league. And then Najee, I mean, they've got a ton of young talent. It's just going to come down to, how quickly Kenny Pickett can kind of get going. I'm not a quarterback scout by any means, but the people that I do listen to and do read, they all had Kenny Pickett as like the number 1 most ready to play week 1. So I think we'll we'll see Pickett early. If it's not week 1 or week 2, I think we'll see Pickett in late September.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like his ceiling would be kind of on a rookie year would be something like Mac Jones had last year. So, which I think any of us would take it with that on those receivers.
Kevin Colbert's gone now. This is his last draft. But Mike Tomlin and that Steelers front office, if Kenny Pickett turns around and turns into a Mac Jones type, like they are going to be doing backflips. Like they will be thrilled if Kenny Pickett turns into a Mac Jones kind of guy.
Yeah, I heard somebody say if they could squint hard enough, is he Joe Burrow? And it's like
that was the talk. That was that, and I've heard that too. But the big thing with Burrow is like his pocket awareness is like ninja level. Like he has an unbelievable sense of pressure and how to maneuver the pocket. It's like Brady almost. So yeah, if you want to throw out a Burrow comp, maybe in terms of arm strength and talent, similar, but Burrow is just a ninja in the pocket.
Well, let's go back to Jacksonville and one running back that we're waiting for his debut. And somebody we were last year when we talked, we were both excited about him. Travis Etienne, first round draft capital, missed the year, was a Lisfranc injury. Doesn't have any. I mean, James Robinson out with the Achilles. I don't think we're expecting another 6-month recovery like with Cam Akers. I think Edwin and I talked recently, and he talked. Again, you wanted to look at about a year for that coming back from that injury. But Travis Etienne in that offense, granted it's a new coach who didn't draft him. What excitement level, both as a Jags fan as a.
Well, I mean, you can only get so excited as a Jags fan. My buddy Jack texts me like every month that the Jags are going to the Super Bowl, and I appreciate and I love him. But yeah, you can only get so excited as a Jags fan. I actually need to talk to Edwin about a couple injury situations, Etienne being one of them. But I mean, he'll be right there at a year, fully removed from Jones. It's just one of those things, man. Like I truly have no idea what kind of role they're going to envision for him, especially early in the year. I think Etienne got overdrafted a little bit. I struggled with him as an inside runner, but obviously I get it. He's a fantastic playmaker at Clemson, especially as a receiver. He's got home run speed. You just have to hope that, he can return to form and make sure that foot's okay. I have Etienne basically ranked right at his price in early best ball drafts. He's going like 55, 60. And I think that's about the right range. I mean, he definitely has a ton of upside. But the downside is still very real. The good news about my Jags, Jorge, is they're going to be better. They will be better than last year. I can say that for sure. Doug Peterson will right the ship. Trevor Lawrence will look a little better. They're going to be better, but they're still a long way away. I would have loved to see them trade back if they could have. I don't think they ever could have, and take an offensive lineman to help out Lawrence, help out the run game, help out Etienne. I want to be cautiously optimistic with Etienne, but at the same time, I still think this is going to be some sort of backfield split, and Etienne's probably not going to get the role we want him to in year 1 or now year 2.
Yeah, now year 2. I mean, I think we're all. I think definitely we're hopeful that Trevor Lawrence is going to take that step forward that a lot of quarterbacks do in that year 2. So, please, por favor, please let's see that happen. I'd love to see that. I mean, it would be just great for the NFL, but also for fantasy, especially if he adds the running element to it. The next one we kind of touched on it a little bit. Javonte Williams, there was a big sigh when Melvin Gordon got re-signed. What was your reaction, and how much did that kind of impact optimism for this year?
Honestly, I wasn't too surprised. There was mutual interest between Gordon and their new GM Patton and bringing him back. And Melvin, let's face it, was really good last year. He earned that role to split with Javonte Williams. Obviously he's going to be another year older now. I don't think we're going to see like the true 50-50 split like we saw for most of last year. I think it'll probably go a little closer to like 60-40 in favor of Javonte. Mm-hmm. But Melvin's still a really good back, still a really good back. He's still got that speed. He's still got good hands. That's something he really worked on when he was with the Chargers in LA. Is his hands. It definitely kills some of the buzz for sure. I mean, I was ready to have Javonte Williams at like 6 in my rankings up until Melvin Gordon re-signed. I've now bumped Javonte to like the back end of the second round. I think a lot of people are probably feeling similar to how you and I feel. It's like we still want to buy the talent, but we really, in the back of our minds, we know that the role that we want for him is probably not going to be there.
No, I hear you on that one. And I had a question in there about Elijah Mitchell. We kind of covered that when we were talking about Ty Davis Price. But kind of talking about draft strategy a little bit. Where it comes to the running backs. Yeah, I think there's still so much talk about zero RB out there. Is there a point in the first round of a single QB draft where you're going to be looking at grabbing like a receiver, like a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, or a Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, I think this year is really interesting. Just it's May 11th, a lot's going to change, but just doing some of the drafts that I've done, you can build really, really fun teams in the first 3 rounds. If you do take Kupp at 2, you take Jefferson at 5 or 6, you take Chase at 5 or 6. Those guys obviously all have just incredible ceilings, especially Kupp again, especially in Jefferson too. They all have just great ceilings. But what's interesting is the second and third round is just like loaded with backs. We just talked about Javonte Williams. I love Aaron Jones. I love Leonard Fournette. I love DeAndre Swift. Alvin Kamara, we'll see on his suspension. He might get suspended. There's some third-round backs that I like. I think you could take J.K. Dobbins. You could take David Montgomery and feel pretty good about your roles there. So the way drafts have set up this year is, you can take Cooper Kupp at 2 or 3. You can take one of these receivers in the middle of the first round, and feel pretty good about the backs you're going to be able to get in the second, third. The problem then becomes, if you don't take some of those backs in the second and third, fourth and fifth round, especially the fifth round, running back starts to really, really fall off this year. You're going to see a lot of backs in round 2, 3, and 4, and then it falls off a cliff. So, you got to be really, really sharp with your zero RB picks this year, because the backs that we want are rightfully getting pushed up the board. And just from a team structure standpoint, I think it can work, and I've done it. I actually kind of like it a lot, taking Jefferson at like 6 or 7. But yeah, I'm not a zero RB guy. I'll do it if the board calls for it, if my targets at running back aren't there. But I never go into a draft thinking like, I got to take no running backs. I think that's a losing strategy.
Yeah, I had some fun playing with zero RB in a dynasty startup recently, and
it was a super dynasty. Yeah. Scott Barrett likes that too. We've talked a bit about that, and that makes sense. If you think about it, you don't take any running backs in dynasty. It's the most like fungible position. Those guys get hurt in the offense. You want to build around young receivers. I've done that quite a bit. I like that strategy in dynasty. Way less so in redraft, though.
Oh yeah, I think you really have to thread the needle in redraft, and I think honestly this past year, the only way you're going to win your league is if you if you ended up with I think it was Jamar Chase in like the 6th round or something like that, because he had that monster week, championship week, and getting Cooper Kupp like in the 3rd round or something, like 3rd or 4th round. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's tough to do that. I think it's fun, but then I think I had a show recently with a couple of zero RB zealots, and they said, you just get used to the fact that you're not going to like your running backs, so just resign yourself to that.
Well, I kind of like what I've been doing with my teams that I draft for redraft, not best ball. Is like I'll take one runner in the first 2 rounds, and then just like not touch the position until the late rounds, and you can just kind of like you feel really good about, okay, I got, let's call it Dalvin Cook at 10. Feel great about that. And I'll just attack receiver for the next 5, 6 rounds, get a quarterback, get a tight end, and then come back to running back. You're kind of like getting the best of both worlds. It's like I call it superhero running back. You have your one superhero, and then you just have a bunch of guys at RB2 and RB3 and just play the waiver wire game, because that's what everybody's doing anyway.
Love it. Yeah, and that's one of the ones that I've really liked to use a lot. So that's been a lot of fun. All right. So let me see. I think Yeah, we talked about that. Man, you really hit on a lot. So one thing, we've bonded over baseball over the last years in our friendship. You talked about how you grew up Yankee fan, lean more toward the Dodgers recently, especially your time working for NFL Network. They're both really good now. They both have good offenses. 1981 was the last time that the two of them could.
Yeah.
How exciting would that be to see it come back? And
Oh man. Well, the Yankees are going to inevitably collapse in the most horrific and hilarious way possible. I'm just, you got to plan for it in August. I was a Yankees fan because I loved Derek Jeter, and then all the advanced stats ruined Derek Jeter for me because he's basically like the worst fielder of all time. But I still love him. Yeah, Dodgers look poised again. Kershaw is just the linchpin right now. It's unbelievable what he's doing. This is arguably the best he's been in years. Yeah, but Yankees look good. That offense is really good, and they're doing it with Stanton playing mediocre, with Donaldson not really hitting yet. So yeah, Yankees lineup is definitely dangerous. Gleyber Torres just hit a home run a couple hours ago.
Oh wow,
game on. He's turned it back around too. Yeah, baseball's. I want to get your opinion.
sure.
What do you think of the whole? I guess just in general, we obviously have the labor dispute that they figured out. Thank God. What do you think about the direction of the game in general, between them trying to make it a little faster? It just kind of feels like baseball is becoming more and more niche, and I don't know if it should be, because the talent right now is unbelievable in my opinion.
I think you're right. I mean, I've been saying that the next Moneyball should involve base running. So with more, trying to find fast base runners. It does. I'd love to see another Ricky Henderson, Tim Raines, Vince Coleman stealing 100 bases. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point, but I want to just see more more movement in the ball, because we've got great athletes in there. You got guys like Fernando Tatis out there. I mean, Ronald Acuna. I mean, these are just incredible. I mean, these are some of the best. I mean, Trout. These are the best athletes we've ever seen play baseball, and I want to see them run. I think to me there are a few things as exciting as to me seeing Mike Trout run round second going for third on a triple. It's one of the most breathtaking things I've ever seen on any kind of sporting field. So I want to see that a little bit more. I'd love to see the shift go away.
Well, they're getting rid of it, aren't they? Next year.
Yeah, they're going to make adjustments to it. I just want to see two fielders on each side of the ball, so that. To me, that's let's make guys play defense. So,
yeah, I think killing the shift is a big part of it. I mean, look, this kind of goes into more specifics on baseball, but like being a pull hitter isn't a bad thing. It's actually a skill. Like, the argument for the shift is like, hitters need to be able to go the opposite way. That's much easier said than done when you're getting a 96-mile-per-hour fastball on the outside corner. Like, good luck catching up to that. I'd love to see the shift killed. I'm with you on base running. It's interesting. Like, it's kind of cool to see the coaching changes a little bit. Like, it used to be, you can run if your coach or your manager gives you the go ahead. Now it's like, it kind of feels like a little more free will. Like if you time up the pitcher, just go. I'm with you on that. It definitely would make the game more exciting.
yeah, I just want to see that, because I think plus also with getting rid of the shift, I think we'll see more singles coming into play. So I think base running will become more important that way, and that it's give us more, please. We don't ask for much, just more running. More running and make guys play defense. I understand how they're going to do the pitching, so it's. We're gonna have to get used to combined no hitters all over the place. Yep. Though the guy from the Angels last night, big shout out.
Yeah, Detmer, man, he had a great night. It's been really good too.
It's funny. Like I get a text group with some baseball buddies, and I said, guys, the third most impressive thing in that game was Mike Trout hitting 2 home runs. So it's like,
sure. True.
Anthony Rendon going, hitting the home run left-handed off of
crazy. Was that his first at bat going switch in the MLB?
Ever.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Just did it because they brought in
high school. Like, you don't have
right.
I bet you he batted switchy in high school. That's really cool.
That was, and when you look at that at bat, it was the swing. It was total beer league, big high leg kick, and just he was just swinging from his heels. I'm sure he's done it in batting practice and stuff like that, which is what Brett Phillips was throwing. He was throwing batting practice fastballs up there, and so just. So that was fun. That to me, we need more fun in baseball, and that's what's great. So I want to, more action, more fun. Let's see that. And speaking of action and fun, a friend of mine just recently spent some time in the Colorado Rockies, and was raving about the green chili. So we talked about tacos last year, but I want to know what other new things you might have discovered in a state that is really underrated for its Mexican food.
Yeah, green chili is really, really good. There are so many like small mom and pop restaurants all throughout Denver. There's a really good one on Broadway where I've gotten like the best barbacoa tacos that I've ever had in my life. They're so freaking good. I haven't tried a ton, but that place, I'm forgetting the name of the place. It's right around my house. It's the best barbacoa I've ever had. But green chili, that sounds really good. I had some a green chili plate when I was in LA last, and it sounds. You're making me hungry now. I haven't had much to eat, so now I'm craving it. Boulder is really good for food, though. Boulder, if you're ever in the Colorado area or doing a trip in the Rockies, Boulder's amazing for food. There's a ton of really good places up there.
Oh man, awesome. Oh, you're making me hungry because I'm having a late lunch after this. So, this is awesome, Graham. Como siempre. I mean, it's always a pleasure to catch up live. I mean, this is so much fun. I mean, everybody. We touched a little bit on what you got coming up. I know you. What are some of the things that some more addendums to yards created and other content that's coming out for Fantasy Points?
Yeah, I've got my yards created breakdown. I think I mentioned that. It'll be out probably Friday or early next week. We'll get that up, full class breakdown, and then it's best ball. I'm going to be doing best ball tiers, some strategy articles. We have a really cool new partnership with Underdog. We'll be doing some live drafts between our staff. We should get you on and have a live draft.
Sure.
We'll get you on in the summer, and we'll do a live draft, something like that.
Love it.
Well, it's we'll be fully into best ball season. John has put up the projections on the site. So again, Familia 22. If you want to get 10% off, look at some early projections. Start theorizing who you're going to take for your fantasy leagues this year. We got those up. So yeah, it's full go year round for us now, Jorge.
Yeah, no, and the Hanson's hints that that have been coming out recently, really cool short pods and everything like that. And actually, he and I've gone back and forth a little bit about talking about Dodgers, Yankees a little bit. So that could be fun, kind of reliving the '81 World Series from when we were kids. So that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I love it. Again, I can't thank you enough for your friendship as much as beyond, everything. Just thank you so much for your friendship. And what's funny, I was listening back to our pod from last year, and some of the advice that you passed along was really cool. And it just how to make it. And I'm sure I listened to it, and I know others did too. So it was really cool. So otra vez gracias. And familia, eso es todo for our show. Special thanks to YouTube for putting us out there. Please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Also, again, fantasypoints.com, Familia 22. I'll get you 10% off. Otra vez. Get it right there. We had a good month last month, so let's keep it going. Thank you. Special thanks to Anchor for putting our independent podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm gonna have some articles coming out on familiafp.com. Look for them on the Twitter sphere at Jorge Martin 17 right here. And again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to Familia FFB. You'll find us there. So all the content going out over there. Otra vez to our invitado. Un millón de gracias. Un millón de gracias. Everybody enjoy. It's the kickoff of best ball season. It's May. Fantasy football is year round. Enjoy your dynasty drafts and your rookie drafts. Let's have some fun, because always remember, todos somos familia. Salud.